So I keep seeing this like thought process going around. I keep seeing this thread happening in a lot of different circles involving film YouTube and film Twitter. And it's that question, that dreaded question that no franchise wants to ever have asked. And that is it over? Is it doomed? Is it gone? Is it destroyed? Is it cooked? Is it dead? Is it over? Right? We've seen this time and time and time again in regards to certain franchises, right? Game of Thrones season 8 rolls around and it became profitable and very, very popular. And I do want to emphasize profitable. To completely crap on the season when ultimately it wasn't that bad. There were issues with it, absolutely, but did it become this cottage industry of crapping on it in order to then maintain a level of anger and a level of negativity in order to keep up views, clicks, and analytics? And the answer to that is 100% yes. Oh my God, yes. But that is the YouTube game. So when you see people doing that kind of stuff consistently, realize that their default response to it is that it's entertainment. But take what they say with a grain of salt, especially when they come out and they say, oh, by the way, I do this because I get paid. So it's like if you take people's thoughts as being accurate and you want to take their statements as being truthful, then ultimately then you have to look at it like that. So when it comes to the MCU, when it comes to Phase 4 specifically, the question then becomes, is it doomed? Is it over? Is it canceled? Is Marvel done? The answer to that is no, not at all. And if you think that, if you are a person who's out there espousing that, you're wrong. On so many levels, you're wrong. And I'll tell you guys why. It's a low-key phase. It is a transition shift period. I don't quite understand how it's not like just super recognizable that that's what's happening. The lineup for Phase 4 is super low stakes. Nothing really is happening for 2 years while they work on the X-Men, while they work on Fantastic Four, now while they find a way to migrate around the lack of Spider-Man. There's a lot that's not happening, but they still have a business to maintain. And they now have an entire new market to deal with, and that would be Disney Plus. So if you paid attention at all to just the releases, in no way over the course of the next 2 years is the MCU dead. There's literally no way that Black Widow doesn't gross at least $1.1 billion. It's opening up in the first weekend of May, traditionally reserved for an MCU film right around that time. It's now moving into every film is going to turn into $1 billion movie, you know, and 2018 and 2019 were basically like that, with the exception of Ant-Man and the Wasp. But that was always kind of a low-key, low stakes movie. It was a bit of a palate cleanser, if you will. And that's something that ultimately Phase 4 is. It's a whole phase of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but with a lot of promising things on the horizon. So you've got Black Widow, you've got Doctor Strange 2, you've got Thor Love and Thunder. And the more I think about Thor Love and Thunder, the more I'm interested to see what they do with it. The Mighty Thor comic line, while not my favorite, is not like, it ends up becoming interesting enough towards the end where if Taika Waititi really brings it, then I think he'll be able to tell a really interesting story. But the problem with it is, though, is how's it going to tie into where Thor's character ends at the end of Endgame? Because where Thor begins in the Mighty Thor run and where he is at Endgame, two different things. So I believe that Taika Waititi will be competent enough to be able to navigate that kind of story. I mean, look at Jojo Rabbit. It's scoring massively good reviews coming out of TIFF. And a lot of people are hailing it for how it handles the source material as well as the timeline. So I think if you've enjoyed Thor Ragnarok, you will probably like what they do with Thor Love and Thunder. And yes, I know there was a clarification about Chris Hemsworth being Thor and that this is a Thor movie. And yeah, it is. It's also going to have Jane Foster as Mighty Thor. It's going to maybe be Thor becomes Odin's son, which happens in the comic. And then we're going to get a bit more with Valkyrie. I don't know what the overall plot line is yet. No one does outside of Taika Waititi, who claims to have not written more than the title page, which I think is a load of crap, to be honest with you. But other than that, it's fine. It should be interesting. It's going to be something that's a little bit new. A lot of people were really not weary, but worried about Thor Ragnarok because of the insane departure that it took from the Dark World. And it proved to be a massive box office and critical and fan received hit. People loved it. So why not give them the benefit of the doubt? If you like the last movie, If you like where Thor was in Infinity War and with Endgame, you'll enjoy this next one. You know, Black Widow is going to be going up against a bunch of different characters, Taskmaster, and I forget the name of David Harbour's guy, like the Russian Captain America. And yeah, apparently Iron Man might be making a cameo appearance in that movie, according to a rumor. I don't know how much of that I believe is absolutely true. If it's cutting room floor stuff that came out of Civil War, leave it on the cutting room floor. It's not necessary to have, but they might want to in order to have it for marketing purposes. And I think that's undercutting what happened. But that's just a storied choice that they're going to have to make that. They're going to make that mistake at some point in time. Anytime RDJ ends up coming back into the MCU, which he will be, because this is a comic book franchise and characters in comic books never truly die. We know this. At some point, Robert Downey Jr. will come back. It might be worth it to them to do it now when the backlash might come in from Black Widow and then not have it impact a greater property down the road. That could be their whole play. I still think it's a bad idea, but we don't know if it's even true yet. We don't know where it's at. We don't even know if it's a reality. So treating it like it's fact when it's coming from We Got This Covered or Cosmic Book News, grain of salt. You want to treat it with that. Then you got to look at the Disney Plus series, right? You've got WandaVision, which is weird, but more based off the Vision comic line, which is what we're hearing. And that's been pretty well received. You've got the, Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is going to be very interesting how they're going to be dealing with the transition as Falcon is being Captain America and how the U.S. government's going to want to respond to that, going up against Baron Zemo. That should be fascinating. Again, being able to tell these stories in a long form presentation versus a 2-hour-long movie where they're meant to really rush through the character development. Now, Falcon and Winter Soldier, they didn't get a lot of character development. Bucky got a lot more than Sam, 100%, but still not enough to really kind of like solidify them as being some of the mains. And I think that's a big part of this one. If you look at, again, the what if is just a what if. It's just an animated take on things. We've seen that before. That's not, that's not uncommon for these kind of properties. And Disney Plus also with Ms. Marvel, which is going to be good or bad. I don't know yet. Or Moon Knight, which is people are really liking that. And they're really loving that it's coming. And it might be a little bit more violent because Disney Plus is actually going to allow movies that drop up to 2 F-bombs. So there we go on that one, And just looking to the future, Black Panther 2, X-Men, Fantastic Four, whatever's coming down the pipeline. Is the MCU doomed? No, not at all. Not even remotely close. Not even remotely close. It's a low-key, low-stakes phase in order to let the audience breathe. And the reason why it's a good thing is because coming off of Endgame, which was such an emotional roller coaster at the end there, it's such a way to close out the first 11 years, they have to then let things simmer and then start to slow build again. It's a resetting process. It's a cleansing the palate process. Nothing wrong with that. So I think that a lot of people that are getting worked up over this, it's not necessarily needed. Why get mad? Why get mad about that? It doesn't even really matter. Like, it's just going to be there. It's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff, new characters that they're experimenting with, whether they do well or whether they don't do well. We don't know yet. But when it comes to whether or not like the female characters in the MCU need men, which I saw that pop up on a video. You know what though? We've learned over the years, if you've paid attention to these movies since at least, I want to say, probably Iron Man 3, team up movies ultimately do better. They do. Iron Man 3, you had Iron Man and you had War Machine, a lot of Rhodey and a lot of Tony, and them working together really well. Buddy cop movie, Shane Black did a great job. Over $1 billion. Captain America Civil War did not gross over, or not Civil War, but Winter Soldier didn't gross over $1 billion, but Black Widow was a staple of that, as well as the introduction of Sam and the Bucky, right? Bringing in Winter Soldier. So you had other people that ultimately became heroes. It was establishing a couple people's origins, which worked out well later on, especially in Civil War. Again, another team up. Thor, a team up. You could argue that Doctor Strange didn't have that because it was an origin one, but Doctor Strange 2 in the Multiverse of Madness, he's teaming up with Scarlet Witch and potentially some other characters. From what I'm hearing is that's going to be the basic, the rumor is that that's going to be the introduction of the X-Men, which is interesting. It depends on how they pull it off. Scott Derrickson is a good director, and C. Robert Cargill, who wrote the first script, they did a good job together. So why not give them, again, the benefit of the doubt of trying to tell an interesting story? That's the thing I'm laughing at here, right? People that take these rumors and these things, and it's fun to speculate, sure. It's fun to speculate. But when you start running pure negativity all the time, and that's what you put out there, I'm going to call bullshit, because a lot of it is. It's just, you have to ask yourself, are the opinions something the person actually believes in? Or are they just being done in order to get you to go click, 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 click? That's my question. So no, again, when it comes to YouTube, it's a place. And you guys are probably, a lot of you out there are not going to like this video, and that's entirely fine. And here's the thing. I want you, if you don't like it, to go ahead and downvote it. I want you to leave a comment telling me why you don't like it. I want that. I do. I really want that. I want you to tell me exactly what you think. If I'm wrong, tell me why. Just go ahead and tell me why. Or if you think that I'm right, or I'm onto something, or I have a point, whether or not you think I'm right, if you think I have a good point, I want that to be your focus here. All right, let's have the actual conversation about it. And of course, I am going to be bringing back Hollywood After Dark here very soon. That is coming back, which you can call in on that show and you could disagree with me live. If that's something you're interested in, pay attention to the channel. But anyway, at the end of the day, no, the MCU is in a low stakes phase in order to allow the audience to breathe after Endgame, allow the audience to reset, to introduce some new heroes, and to keep the franchise going for the next 11 years and the 11 years after that, and so on and so forth. Because if you are a fan of where the MCU has gone over the span of the last 11 years, in the last 23 films, then don't you think that they kind of have a good idea where they want to take the next 23 films and how they want to handle it? Right? But leave your thoughts, leave your opinions. Again, super curious to know. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Thank you for watching and engaging, and peace out.